Hi again then guys, and so we've got another GranTurismo 6 PP specific track set up for you today, and this time it's for the 450 PP category, which seems pretty low, but this particular car is known by quite a few people as being pretty much the ultimate 450 PP racer. There are some others which can rival it, such as the Suzuki GSX-R4, but pretty much any lobby will allow this car because it's unassuming. It's the Volkswagen Polo GTi. So, I would recommend racing soft tyres, but obviously everyone has their own preference there. I've increased the rear brake balance to 6 just to stop it from lunging as much as front drive cars can sometimes do. We've got the ride height as low as possible. Springs we've increased to 7 and 450. The dampers, we've got 4 on compression, 5 on extension. For the anti-roll, as low as possible on the front so you can get that great turn in, and 3 on the rear to prevent it from spinning up those rear wheels. For the camber and tow, you want neutral. For the gearbox, well, we'll come back to that as always last. For the diff, the lowest initial torque, lowest acceleration and lowest braking sensitivity. As far as power, we do have an oil change on this one. You want a stage 3 engine tune, sports computer and high RPM turbo, and then reduce the power down to 250 horsepower. I have fitted NOS, obviously that's dependent on the lobby and your personal preference. You want the full weight loss package with a 36 kilo ballast put all the way to the rear to bring us slightly closer to that 50-50 weight split and also to the 450 PP level. Now as far as the gearbox, you want an auto setting of 180, then for the individual gears you want 2.8, 1.9, 1.4, 1080, 870 and 730 with a final drive of 2.9. And that gear setup is good for a top speed of around 180 on the Nürburgring. So pretty impressive for a 450 PP car. So that's it for the tune setup. Now let's take it out to the Nürburgring to see what it can do. Now this car, despite being what many would consider to be a lower level hot hatch, it doesn't have the power of a Focus ST or a Megane, but around the track this is an absolute monster. As I said, it's known by a fair few people now as being one of the best, if not the best, all-round 450 PP racers. The handling is superb on this car. The brakes do an excellent job. They're not necessarily the best in the game, but they do an adequate job. The acceleration is very strong, the top speed is very good for its PP, and I think the reason why this car is so good overall is because it's just so good at everything. It's not the best at anything, but it's so good at everything, kind of like the Tommy Kaira, that it evens out to being a brilliant all-round car, especially for the 450 PP level. I've tuned this one to have kind of a mix between handling, or between power and weight. You can make it lighter within the 450 PP category, but obviously you'll have less power. Or I actually did a tune for it with close to 300 horsepower in the 450 PP category, but in order to get that power, it had to weigh around 1,300 kilos, which made it slower through the corners. So I've kind of gone for a split between both. So you've got the 250 horsepower, but also it weighs under 950 kilos. So a good mix of both. This car can get around the Nürburgring in 7 minutes or less. That is pretty crazy for a 450 PP car. So if you decide to use this tune and this car, obviously I hope you find it fun, and it's definitely a highly competitive machine. And if you're new to the channel and would like to keep up with tunes like this as soon as they're released, be sure to slap that subscribe button down below. And as always, thanks for watching.